Hi, hello, how's it going? It's Emily. And today we are finally going to be starting the vlogs for my summer bingo project. So here's the bingo board. I have an announcement video from about a month ago that goes through this board in a little more detail. And essentially, it's a 5 by 5 grid with different prompts, and we're going to be going line by line, and there are going to be 5 different vlogs for the 5 different lines of prompts. So in this vlog, we're actually not going to be starting at the top. We're actually going to be starting in the middle of the bingo board. We're going to be focusing on this line here. So we have the free spots. This will actually be a 4 book vlog rather than a 5 book vlog. And I say we're finally starting because it just took longer than I expected. I was reading some romantasy at the time that I created this bingo board, so there was a romantasy reading vlog. There were a few other things I wanted to read in a 24-hour reading vlog. There was Summerween. And so, all these vlogs are now up on my channel, so be sure to go check those out. But it took, and the Mass First reading vlog too, the latest Sarah J. Maas reading vlog. So all of these vlogs just took a little bit longer to do than I would have hoped. And so it's been about a month, and we are finally starting on the bingo board in mid-July, which is not great, which means we've got a month and a half instead of the 2.5 months that I thought I had. So it's great. We're fine. We're fine. Hopefully we can still do this by the end of August, or maybe at least just barely into early September. I would take that as well as a win. So as I said, we're focusing on the middle line, and the first prompt is a book you think will be a 5-star read. So apologies for having already read this one. Actually, I just finished it this morning. But I have read it. So we're just going to talk about it real quick, and then we will move on to the other books. But this is Book Boyfriend by Emily Wibberley and Austin Sigmund Broca. And the automatic closed captions, I'm going to have to correct on that one because I'm 100% sure that it will not get that correct. But I have read a book by this author duo before. I believe they're a husband-wife author duo that write romances, which is pretty cute. And I've read The Roughest Draft from this duo and really enjoyed it. So I definitely had high hopes in general because I had enjoyed a book from them before. But the premise of this one in particular was calling to me. And it's a romance that involves bookish people. So our 2 main characters, we have Jennifer and Scott, who both work in publishing at the same publisher. And Scott has maybe been a little bit dismissive of romantasy, or hasn't really been that interested, and also kind of rejected her offer of friendship, or her olive branch of friendship, just wanting to get a drink with him to get him to know him better when he first started. And so they haven't really gotten off on the greatest foot. And so Jennifer really loves this romantasy series in particular, the Elysium Courts series, which of course a fake series. And so she is obsessed with this series, and one of her friends has put together a week-long experience, or helped organize. Her job has been to help organize a week-long experience for fans of this series. So they'll get together, they're all staying in the same place. There's a ball at the end of this where you can dress up as different characters, and they have actors portraying different characters who are there throughout the week to kind of help host and guide things. They have different activities that are relevant to the series. They have different, they're learning about different things that are relevant to the series, doing activities and doing different things that are relevant to the series. There's also a scavenger hunt with clues that are kind of based on the series, and the winner of the scavenger hunt who finds all the clues is going to get to go on a date with the MMC, or the actor who's portraying the MMC from the character. They get to go on a little dinner date with him at the end of it in character. And so, it's just a fun experience for fans who want to be kind of immersed in the world for a little while and just have a little bit of fun. I kind of think of this as like the World Hoppers ball and, Brandon Sanderson kind of convention, where people dress up as different Brandon Sanderson characters, and the love of the Cosmere just kind of comes out in this great experience. It's kind of like that, but for a fake romantasy series. It sounds amazing. I really would love to go to something like this for a series that I really love. It would be great. And so it's kind of fun to see, a bookish character obsessed with a romantasy series, her get to be immersed in this situation. But who else is there but her work nemesis, Scott, who definitely has not mentioned interest in this series. In fact, very much the opposite. And one of the things that I was concerned with is if they play that up too much or talk about it too much, then like I definitely don't want to root for a hero who judges someone for their reading taste and thinks that serious literature is the only thing worth reading. You know what I mean? Like, that's not a great perspective, and you can learn a lot of things from all sorts of books in general, fiction and nonfiction, and you can learn a lot of things from fiction as well, and you can learn a lot of things from those silly romance books that people love to dismiss. I've learned a lot from romance novels about what I want in a relationship, being able to recognize red flags. You can learn about a lot of these different things from reading fiction, and recognize, again, things that you should look out for, things that you definitely want in a relationship and you want to fight for. I've learned a lot by reading these silly little romances, and have had so much fun reading romantasy and getting obsessed with different romantasy series. And, if the authors had kind of played up that part of his character too much, it ultimately just would make him unlikable enough to me that I wouldn't really want to root for them. They didn't do that, fortunately, because they're experienced authors, and I feel like they knew that was a risk. And of course, they have conversations about kind of why he has a dismissive attitude and what that's really covering. Anyway, so I think they handled it well, and I suspected they would, which is why I didn't feel like that would be a problem. But that's definitely a risk going into a premise like this, and something that I was like, well, it could go that direction, and I wouldn't really want that, but it didn't, and I had so much fun with this one. I thought their dynamic was pretty cute, and had a lot of fun with this immersive experience, and had a lot of fun with our FMC growing and learning about herself and learning about what really matters to her, and what she wants to fight for in a relationship, what she wants to fight for in her life in general, what friendships matter, and why it's important to bond with people over a love of a series like that, and why that's important and what that means to her. And just kind of to see her growth over the book was a lot of fun. And I don't know, I had a good time with this one. I really did. It was super cute. Would recommend if that premise sounds like a fun one for you. The next one, I believe, was just, or the next prompt, I believe, was just a fantasy, if I'm recalling correctly. Yes. I have the bingo board pinned to my Instagram, by the way. So if you check out my Instagram, I will not only leave it, like the image of it, linked below. I have it in a Word document that I will link below, but I also have it pinned to my Instagram. So the next one is a fantasy. So for this one, we're going to be reading Verity Guild. This is by May Corland. And I still need to read the final book in her other series. She wrote the Five Broken Blades series. I'm blanking on what the actual series is called, but the first book is Five Broken Blades. And I still need to read the third and final book in that series, but I had a lot of fun with that series. I know a lot of people had kind of mixed reactions to that one. I really enjoyed it and enjoyed the cast of characters and what was going on. and I'm excited to read the third one. It may not be the one I'm most excited to continue as far as series I need to continue. It may not be like the number one series I'm anxious to continue, but I did have a lot of fun with it. And this one is involving a murder mystery set in a fantasy world, which is definitely something I really love. And so I just started this. I'm literally on chapter 4, so not very far into it, but we are following 2 different characters. And all I know at this point is our FMC is this kind of priestess character. She's a high priestess, and her father recently passed away, so she is now taking his seat on the Verity Guild, which is kind of this council that hears cases and administers justice in a sense. And it's her, there's someone else who I think he and his family come from kind of the military side of the world, if I'm recalling correctly. And then there's someone else from, I think, the kind of the political side. And the 3 of them sit on this council, if I'm recalling who's actually on the council correctly. But there are 3 people on this council, and she is now one of them with the death of her father, and the other male main character is one of the other people on this council, and they do not like each other. I think the FMC accused his father of certain things, and he was found guilty of those things in some sort. I don't know if it was actually through a Verity Guild meeting or if it was some other council that found him guilty. I don't remember. I'll need to double check what it said. But so they do not like each other, and so that's of course going to be fun for them to work through. But they're going to be serving together on this council, and they're about to have kind of some sort of retreat or something for the members of this council. So that'll be fun. They're going to be locked away with each other for a little while, which is always entertaining. And then there's at some point going to be some sort of murder mystery, locked on a mountain with a murderer. So there's some sort of murder that happens at this mountain retreat. Scheming senators and a prophecy of death. He's forced to work by her side to figure out what happened. And I think the murder mystery is going to come in as they are at this mountain retreat. So when a senator is brutally killed and the temple blade is found at the scene, all eyes turn to her because she's the priestess. And I guess the senator is the political person on the council, I think. And so, something happens and they are at this retreat on a mountain, locked away with this murderer and scheming senators and whatever else going on. So I love a murder mystery set in a fantasy world. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing what's going to happen and see what's going to go on. So I will come back once I have more of Verity Guild read and once I have a better grasp on the world and what's going on, and we will talk through some more thoughts. Also, don't mind kind of the angle and the bad lighting with the lighting coming from behind me. I'm currently watching the France-Spain semifinal World Cup game over there, so we're multitasking here, but normally I would make the light actually face the right way with the light coming on to me as opposed to being behind me, but whatever. We're working with what we got today, so just wanted to throw that in as well. So I am done with Verity Guild. It is a couple days later. I meant to check in yesterday while watching the other semifinal game for the World Cup, but did not happen. Anyway, so we have finished Verity Guild. I very much enjoyed. And I want to clarify a few things I said now that I know some more information than when I previously spoke. So our FMC is a priestess, like a head priestess, and for a particular god. And then the MMC it's not that he does have ties to the military, but he is more connected to kind of the Ministry of Justice, and his job is to protect the senators while they're at this kind of enclave meeting. So the first murder actually happened, and I was a little confused because I thought the murder happened while they were sequestered, but it actually happened at this kind of Jubilee celebration that occurs before this enclave meeting, or this meeting of this group of people. And so this group of people includes the FMC and MMC. So the MMC is protecting these senators and just kind of making sure things go well. And he's the one that's actually investigating what's going on. And as I said, the FMC is a priestess, so she's kind of there representing religious matters at this meeting. And then we have the senators who are making political decisions on different resolutions on behalf of the people. And so we open with this celebration. One of the senators gets murdered, and they decide to do this enclave meeting and continue with things as they were planned, and more people keep dying. So there's also other staff at this meeting, kind of the assistants to the various players here, some staff and stuff, but it's pretty sequestered and small group of people. And so people keep dying, and our MMC is trying to figure out who is responsible for what's going on. And so that's Torin. Torin is the one investigating, and Keresi is the MMC who's the priestess, or the FMC who's the priestess, and she has some magical abilities that she needs to hide. And so that's part of what's going on here too, is that her abilities will be able to help figure out what's going on, but she needs to be very careful about how she approaches this and what she does and who she trusts with what's going on. And so Torin's trying to figure out things that are going on. It's pretty difficult to try to figure out what's happening, and his position is at risk. So he knows that if he can't figure out what's going on, that he's not going to be perceived as competent at his job. But also part of the complication is that it's really, really difficult to try to make accusations at people who are in high political places. And so the senators, it's very difficult to accuse the senators of anything. So he needs to very carefully navigate trying to figure out what's going on with, and upholding his position or justifying his position, in this critical role, but also try to navigate the rules very carefully and navigate the politics very carefully. And there's an interesting dynamic between kind of the political situation here and religious figures and Keresi's position, and there's definitely tension there, and there are multiple people who kind of need to walk on a tightrope to not jeopardize things. And so it's interesting to see the different players and what they're navigating, and see Torin try to essentially figure out how he can, once he figures out what's going on, whether or not he's even going to be able to make any accusations stick, or what evidence he's going to need to make any accusations stick if it's a politically high up person at this enclave that's responsible. And so anyway, so very intriguing. I had a lot of fun with this, and I'm definitely intrigued, especially with where we leave off, to see what happens next and whether or not characters can get out of different situations and how they'll be able to do that and navigate that. So I'm definitely very intrigued to read the next one. I'm not sure if it's going to be a duology or a longer series, but so after that, I have picked up The Wicked Sea, and I've been enjoying this one so far. I'm not very far in, and we have a world where there are a lot of tensions between mermaids who have various magical abilities and people on land. We are finding out little bits about this history. And essentially, the only type of people who have the ability to fight against mermaid powers are warlocks. And, warlocks have a cost to using their magic, but it's some of the only magic that can fight against mermaids. And so we open with a scene where the mermaids are figuring out that these warlocks exist and can challenge their powers. And then sometime later, we're following Zephyra, and she is on land and kind of passing as a human or trying to be a human, basically trying to escape and just like live her own life. And we follow her and a group of people that she's acquainted with trying to get money and try to pull off, is heist the right word? They're trying to get money so that they can each live their own life. And she, in that process, encounters and is captured by a warlock, a very powerful warlock named Arian. Is that how it's pronounced? Arian? Anyway. And so she encounters this powerful warlock. He is trying to find information about his magic, and I think he's essentially trying to make sure that it doesn't cost him as much to use his magic, because his magic is kind of slowly killing him. And so he's trying to figure that out. I'm not quite sure at this point why Zephyra is trying to run away. So at this point, I don't have a ton of information. The synopsis says that she's on the run from a dangerous captor after years of abuse, and that's why she wants her freedom and wants to get away. And, that's why she's on land and is trying to survive in the kingdom on land where everyone basically is trying to kill mermaids when they find them or find out that anyone has that magic. But I don't think she's really talked much about that so far. Maybe I'm just missing something from this first little bit here. But I don't think she's talked much about that and kind of why she's on the run. But she's trying to get money to be able to, get away from this kingdom and kind of live on her own terms. And in that process gets captured by this warlock. And so, yeah, he's trying to find information. I think she is ultimately going to be key to helping him find said information. So they're going to strike a deal that if she helps him find that information or find what's going to be key to his magic not killing him, then he'll let her live, despite the fact that she's a mermaid and that he's kind of trained to kill mermaids. So super fun premise. So far I am liking the writing and I'm kind of engaged in this world and what's going on. So yeah, not a ton of thoughts so far, but wanted to give some opening thoughts for The Wicked Sea, and then I'll check in once I've read more of this one and have more thoughts. So it is a few days later. I meant to check in on Saturday and ended up doing a decent amount of cleaning, and we were watching qualifying for F1, and anyway, just didn't end up getting as much done on Saturday as I meant to. And then yesterday we watched the race and then also went to go see the World Cup finals. Watched it at a bar. We didn't go to see the World Cup finals. Could you imagine? Oh my gosh. Yeah, that would be very expensive. Anyway, we went to watch it at a bar with a friend, and that was a lot of fun. But yeah, have not checked in this weekend. So let's catch up. So I was a little bit into The Wicked Sea when we last checked in. I think we had just met Orion, the male main character. Did I mispronounce his name in the last clip? I hope I didn't, but if I did, his name is pronounced Orion. We had just met him. So at the very beginning, our FMC had just, there was a group of people who were trying to get some things that they could sell for money and kind of loot this area and sell things to get money. So Zafira and her companions were trying to do that. She was caught by Orion and after attempting to sell some of the things they collected, and some things had gone wrong with that. And so she's kind of in a precarious situation after that anyway. And so Orion catches her. She's about to be put to death for being a mermaid. And she, at that point, promises, or she had kind of made references to knowing where this place is that might have what he's looking for. He's looking for this magical heart. And he wants it to kind of restore or balance his magic. So his magic, he needs to use it, but it's also killing him. So he needs to use it, or that's also bad for him, but using it is also bad for him. And this magical heart thing is what's going to help kind of balance his magic out and make him able to not die from his magic, essentially. And she has promised that she will take him to where this heart is. So he ends up saving her from being killed and kind of goes off with her. Let me see if I can show you the picture. Actually, it's on the back, will be the better picture to show you. So he and the other people like him have these wings, which is kind of fun. And anyway, the warlocks is what I meant. The word I was looking for there. The warlocks, like him, have those wing things. Anyway, so he basically flies her out of there. And, but of course he had previously captured her and is a warlock. And they're supposed to use their magic to kill mermaids. And so they're not really getting along at first, but she wants to live, he wants to live, and so they make an agreement to just stick together until they can find this heart. She'll help him navigate what they need to navigate in order to do this. But, of course, they come across different characters, they have some misadventures, and this is a romantasy, so, of course, they end up starting to have feelings for each other, starting to open up a little bit more. So I think at the end of what I was saying last time, the blurb references her, the reason she's living on land amongst a bunch of people who don't like mermaids is because she's running from where she had been, from the abuse that she had suffered there. But we don't really know anything about that, and so we don't really know why. If you hadn't read the blurb, you don't really know why she has bothered to be on land. Like, she, after a while, starts to make little references to it, and we do start to understand what she went through and why she was running from where she was running from. But it takes a while to get there. So if you hadn't read the blurb, the obvious question at the beginning would be, well, why would you live on land amongst people who hate you? Or why would you bother to try to go on land and find a place that you can just kind of lay low and be by yourself and live a peaceful life? Is that not what you had? Like, why are you running? And we don't really get answers to that for a while. Anyway, and yeah, I did have fun with this one. I won't say this will be my favorite romantasy ever, but it is a fun one for the summer. If you're looking for a mermaid romantasy for the summer, give this one a go. I did really have fun with this one. And I have since started and am a bit into, so the bottom part below the bookmark is what I've actually read. So I've read, a solid chunk, but definitely not half of, maybe a third of The Sun and the Star Maker. This is by Rachel Griffin. And I'm loving this one so far. This would be the perfect book for the winter. Actually, let me see if I can say words. This would be the perfect one for the winter. So I kind of wish I had read this in the winter. And I knew that would be the case. And I need to eventually just read the books that I have and not necessarily save them for the perfect season, but you can kind of tell by some of the art, and that's come off, by the art on the cover, and let me see if I can show. Actually, the back picture isn't super wintry, but you get a vibe, and from the blurb and kind of knowing what this is about, you get a vibe that this area is very cold, and so it would be perfect for the winter. Or if you're just wanting to imagine a cold place on a hot summer day, then maybe this would be it. Or if you're not in the northern hemisphere and it's winter for you right now, I have a recommendation for you, at least based on what I've read so far. But yeah, it is hot for me, so it is a very different temperature situation. But we are following we have a couple of main characters. So our female main character, they're living in the area of Reverie. And Aurora is someone who is living in this area of Reverie, and they rely on the magic of the Star Maker to bring them the sun. So the sun wouldn't, based on where they are and kind of the mountains that are around them, the sunlight wouldn't really reach them. And so they rely on the magic of the Star Maker to basically bring them the warmth and light of the sun. And so, she's grown up with these tales and these stories, but she loves living in Reverie and loves living in this magical place. And there are also these, I kind of am imagining them as ley lines, like these magical lines. Anyway, and so there's magic in this place. It's not really well defined what this magic is, but there's magic in this place. And again, they rely on the magic of the Star Maker to make that all possible. And she is going to marry, or is set to marry, someone from her town. And when they marry, it's going to, is creating a new one of these kind of magic lines. Is that an accurate way to put it? But the marriage will basically help maintain or bring magic to their part of town, or not their part of town, but like it'll kind of establish this new magical line. Anyway, it's part of the way that they keep magic in this place is through marriage, and those marriages establishing these magical lines or extensions. Anyway, not really describing that very well, but she's set to marry someone in her town. She does have a good relationship with this guy. She does really like him. She thinks that they can grow to have a really good partnership and a really good marriage. And so she's excited to marry him. And she, on the day of her wedding, is going to, pick some berries out in the forest? Something along those lines for the wedding ceremony. She's picking some additional berries or picking some flowers. She's picking something. It's probably too cold for a lot of flowers. I think she's picking berries. And she comes across the Star Maker. And when they touch, she is actually about to kill a stag, which she's not supposed to do, but she's not really thinking about that. She's thinking about the food that this could bring to her family for a long time. But the Star Maker stops her from killing this stag. It's like, you're not supposed to do that. When they touch, her magic kind of awakens, and it becomes clear to him through what happens in the reaction that she has, and kind of the reaction the magic in her has to touching him, that she is the next Star Maker. So she is going to be the next person to make sure that sunlight gets to Reverie. And so she has to go with him. And he says that if she doesn't use her magic, it will harm her. So another common thing between the last book and this one, if she doesn't use her magic, it will harm her. She basically needs to be trained on how to use her magic. And so he is going to train her, but she needs to basically go away with him to where he lives and his castle-like place in order to be trained on how to use her magic. So she basically needs to give up seeing her family, seeing everyone in town that she knows, give up the marriage that she was about to enter into and completely upend her life to train to be the next Star Maker. And even when she does become the next Star Maker, it's a very lonely existence because they are high up in this castle thing. The process that they go through is kind of just a lonely existence, bringing sunlight to this place, and they basically do this until the next Star Maker is found, or they come across the next Star Maker. And so they live a long, long time and see everyone that they care about die. And so the Star Maker, the current Star Maker, has kind of basically shunned everyone to protect his heart from losing everything and everyone that he knows and loves. He doesn't want to go through that again. So he has kind of closed himself off, and it'll be a lonely existence to be the Star Maker. And so she's learning more about what it means to be the Star Maker, learning more about her magic. They don't really get along very well at first because he's just very gruff, hands off. Is just kind of like, all right, let's get this done. Like, let's do this. You're going to be the next Star Maker. And again, he's kind of shut himself off emotionally after having gone through life as the Star Maker. And she has just been whisked away from a life that she was looking forward to, and everything about her life has changed. And so she's in upheaval. Her life is in upheaval, so she's not in a great place mentally either. And so they very much butt heads at first. And, I think it'll take a little while for them to come to some understandings about each other and have patience for the perspective of the other one and what they've been through. And anyway, but I'm loving the writing. The writing is immersive. I'm very much feeling everything that I think I'm supposed to be feeling. I'm endeared to these characters already. So I'm very much enjoying this one. Like, quite a bit. It's definitely a very fairy tale vibe. So if you're looking for a fairy tale vibe, perfect for cold weather, I got you. So we're going to keep reading The Sun and the Star Maker. And then, we'll take a look at the bingo board, and we'll cross off at least one bingo, and then hopefully can continue with some other bingos coming up, because we are running out of time. I feel like even though it's literally the middle of summer and we still have a good chunk of summer to go, I feel like we have way too many books to get through in order to successfully do the bingos by the end of September, or by the end of August, beginning of September. But we'll see. I still have faith we can do it. But yeah, I'm going to be continuing this one because I'm just absolutely loving this one. And we'll check back in once I have read more. So it is the next morning. I'm waiting for my coffee to cool. Also, how cute is this mug? Sorry, I'm fully booked. And Bella's has always been my girl. So I saw this and absolutely had to have it. And we're going to wait for that to cool for just a minute. And we are going to chat more about The Sun and the Star Maker, because I'm absolutely in love with this. I am a bit further. Can you even see the bookmark there? The part below the bookmark is what I've left. So I'm most of the way through, but I still have a little bit to go, and I'm just in love. I'm so in love with the story, the characters, the writing, the romance. I'm in love. And I think I gave the basic setup yesterday. One thing I forgot to mention. So the conditions that she gives for going with him, even though she kind of has to because she's going to be affected by not using her magic, she still wants to help her family and wants to assert some form of control over a situation that she can't control. So she gives a couple of conditions for going with him, which he accepts. One is that they marry so that they can still have this like line of magic to her family's house, is kind of how it's described. So there's magic in the land, but there can be kind of a more targeted bit of magic to her family's house to help her family specifically. And that's what she was going to be marrying that other guy for at the beginning of the story. But she still wants to marry to give her family that. And then he also wants her to heal her sister. Her sister is sick with something they call the frost. And that's part of what the Star Maker is supposed to kind of help keep in check as much as they can, is to make sure that the frost doesn't kind of expand or whatever. Another thing the Star Maker does is just like investigate or kind of fix little mishaps with magic, which is kind of fun. And so there are some charming moments with that. But yeah, she's learning her magic, and she's learning more about what it means to be a Star Maker and what kind of sacrifices the Star Makers need to give. And this story has made me emotional, y'all. Okay, so I didn't full on shed a tear, but this story was making me really emotional this morning, and I'm really, really feeling this one. And I don't know, it's just beautiful. The writing's beautiful, and I'm just feeling it, y'all. I'm feeling it. I got on my feels this morning, and I got really emotional and got really sad. But it's a beautiful story so far. So I'm gonna have some coffee and finish this one out. Probably going to just chill for a little bit and then finish this one out and get some things done this morning. But I just wanted to come check in while I could show y'all my bookish mug and tell you about all the feels that I'm feeling. Anyway, okay, so I'll come back once I'm actually done and we can chat final thoughts. Y'all, I've just shed a few tears. I'm almost done and I have just shed a few tears. This story is so beautiful. It's just an ode to love, an ode to storytelling. And speaking of storytelling, let me read you one of my favorite quotes from this story. And it's the Star Maker writing to her. He says, "You've always loved a good story, have you not? Ours is my favorite. May it outlive us both." And y'all, I want this tattooed on my body. Oh my gosh, I don't even have any tattoos, but I want this tattooed on my body. Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. Okay, I'm gonna finish this out, but I just had to document that. I mean, you probably can't tell now because it was just like a few. My eyes are still a little puffy from a few tears coming out. I never cry at books, y'all. Anyway, okay. All right, we're going to finish this out. Okay, this book is going to be my personality for a while. I'm obsessed. The ending was perfect. I just am so obsessed with this one. I also got emotional reading the author's note and knowing what the author went through in the process of writing this and how this book helped her recover. Writing this book helped her recover from what she was going through. This book will just hold a very special place in my heart, and I can see myself rereading this one a lot whenever I need this feeling and to be reminded to just live and love and how important stories are. Anyway, I'm obsessed. I love it. And with that, we are going to wrap up this vlog. Thank you so much for joining me. We have one line of the bingo card down, and I think this was an incredibly successful vlog in terms of my enjoyment of the books overall. And yeah, there will be 4 more vlogs to come, so be sure to subscribe and stay tuned for the rest of the 4 vlogs, can she even speak, to cover the rest of the bingo board. So yeah, as I said, subscribe for more bookish content, including that. I will also be starting Red Rising next. to wrap up a dystopian vlog that will be coming at some point in the near future. So get excited about that. I'm hyped. I'm excited. I'm ready to join the bandwagon. So subscribe if you want to see my reaction to Red Rising and starting that series. And I will also leave my Instagram down below as well. Be sure to follow me there. I'll also link my Etsy and my Pingo store with some used books for sale if you want to check that out. And I will also leave more information about how you can support the Black Lives Matter movement. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.